Hey guys, Andy here, and we're finally here with the Poco F1 review. I almost feel like it's kind of reaching the status of legendary already. I'm probably way overblowing at this point, but there's so much hype about this phone. I found the hype meter that I talked about in the unboxing. It was on GSM Arena, as some other people pointed out. When I found it, it wasn't quite as sort of a clear leader as it was when I first saw it. So it's got 64,000 hits when I found it the second time, and the Vivo V11 was next with 44, so the gap was smaller. When I initially found it, it had twice as many hits as any other phone. People are so hyped about this device, it's amazing. Should they be? And that's what I'm here to talk about. So why they're so hyped? I mean, I've had a lot of Xiaomi devices over the years. They generally have very good build quality, it's good hardware. None of them have ever remained as my daily, but none of them have been quite spec like the Pocophone F1. So the headline is, it's got a Snapdragon 845 in a £250 phone. That's pretty impressive. How they've done it and others can't, I guess we'll probably never know, but that is impressive. The CPU is an octa-core, basically Cryo 385. The GPU is the Adreno 630, which again I'm fairly sure is the top-end Adreno GPU, so that's quite impressive. It's got 6 gig of RAM. This particular one has 64 gig of storage. It's got liquid cooling, for God's sake. My Note 9 has liquid cooling, but you pay £900 for that phone. It's got stereo speakers. It's got a 3.5mm jack. And it has infrared face recognition, but only in India or Hong Kong. So you can set your region to be India or Hong Kong, and you can use the facial recognition. Honestly, I didn't want to muck about like that. I've just left it. So the specs of it are very impressive. If we talk about the design, it's 180 grams, but it doesn't feel big or bulky. It's 8.8mm thick or thin, which is not an issue. It comes in graphite black, steel blue, Rosso red, or there's an armoured edition with Kevlar. As you can see, it's got a rear-mounted fingerprint sensor, which is actually blazing quick. Let's see, it even turned on before I can get it around. I think it's possibly one of the quickest fingerprint sensors I've ever used. Blew my Note 9 away easily. It seems very reliable as well. There is a notification light down at the bottom, just above the charging port. It's very small, but it's bright enough that you do notice it, so it's not. That's quite good. It's some kind of sort of hardened plastic on the back. What I like is, I mean, it feels nice. It's not too slippy, but also it really resists fingerprints, which actually makes me think I kind of, in some ways, prefer it over glass. Maybe, I don't know. You don't have to keep clean. Look at that. I mean, I've not wiped that clean like in days, and this has been my daily device. I should point that out actually. This has been my daily device for like basically a week. Is it 6 days? It's made me think when, what's his name, Unbox Therapy, whoever he is, he was kind of making a big deal out who's going to use it as his main device. Well, isn't that what every reviewer does when they get a phone? There's only a couple of times where I've not used the device as my main device and then done a review. So I have been using this as my daily for the last week, basically. So yeah, all around, it's a very nice design, I would say. USB Type-C, I didn't mention, I don't think, at the bottom. We'll come to the kind of the battery and things. The screen is a 6.1-inch IPS LCD. The screen-to-body ratio is 82.2, which is pretty good. I mean, as you can see, it has a notch, which again we're going to come to in a short moment. It does have quite shallow viewing angles. Now, I don't know how well it shows on the camera. So head-on, it looks really nice and really bright, but very quickly it sort of fades as you come off angle. I noticed it most actually when I did my Netflix head-to-head video. So I had this up against my Note 9 because of a reason I'll come to very shortly. And as they both laid on the desk, the Pocophone looked really dim, but unless you leant it forward, all of a sudden it looked a lot brighter. So clearly that's just about the viewing angles. It's not a massively bright screen as you might expect from a budget device. It can't quite reach 500 lumens, so that's pretty low down on the list of things. But at the same time, when you're looking directly at it, I certainly never had an issue. I think it looks a really nice screen. LCD IPS these days, I think they've come a long way. It used to be, well, in my opinion, you had to go Super AMOLED for a half decent screen, but LCD these days actually look really good. We're going to move on to the dual camera setup on the back, and while I'm talking you'll be looking at some of the images I've taken with the Pocophone F1. It's a 12 megapixel f1.9 and a 5 megapixel f2.0. f1.9, that's not bad. I mean, these days they are getting a lot lower than that, but it's not too bad. The lower the number, the better the sort of low light performance generally. The front facing camera is a 20 megapixel f2.0. The rear camera, we're going back to that, is does 4K video at 30 frames per second, or 1080p at 240 frames per second, which is pretty damn good. So the stills, I would say, generally they look very good, especially for a budget phone. I think there's great colours and the detail's strong, and it's reasonable in low light. The front-facing camera also looks pretty good. I don't really know why they've got 20 megapixels for it, but yeah, generally that's good. The video, for me, is not so great. The colours are a little overblown, I think. They're a bit too much, a bit almost processed looking, and it drops frames quite a lot, which makes it kind of, the video sort of skip. At first I thought it was the weird panning issue that you get with some devices, but I think it is just skipping frames. Low light performance though was pretty good. So the camera, a bit of a mixed bag, still very good. Video, a little patchy. We're going to move on to the battery. It's a 4000 milliamp hour battery with quick charge 3.0. As I mentioned, it's got USB Type-C. In my test it scored 92%, which is not amazing, but it's good. It's there with the other good devices. Where it excels though is in its standby, which, you know, for example, overnight if I don't charge it only drops about 3%. So let's just have a look at the battery right now. Now I've been off charge for about 30 hours and we're at 42%, literally a few seconds away from 30 hours. Now this, I think that was me in the gym this morning. It gets worked pretty hard when I'm at the gym. I'm watching YouTube when I'm on the bike for 20 minutes, then it's playing music and I'm using it to track my reps and sets and things. So you can see it plummeted while I was at the gym, and now it's kind of leveled out again. So it's standby, so that bit there would probably be through the night. Its standby is fantastic. With the screen on, not as amazing. But as I say, I'm coming up to 30 hours and I'm still over, what was it, 42%? You know, you can easily, I would suggest, unless you're like heavy user, you're gonna get 2 days out of this. But it achieves that by really aggressive RAM management, which basically means closing apps down. So I usually, well, I've started using, I should say, things like AccuBattery, which normally when I looked at that, it would say screen off, it would say, I don't know, 28 hours or something, screen on 2 hours, but it's not. It's got 13 minutes and 2 hours 51, because the device keeps closing it down. It just keeps, you're not needing to shut down. I've added it to the list to say no, ignore it, whitelist this device, like this app, let it run, and it still just keeps closing it down, which is a shame. I mean, this tells me if I keep the screen off, I'd go for 84 hours. What's that, 3.5 days? I don't know, some quick maths by somebody, please. Even with the combined usage, as you can see, it's getting on close for 2 days. But again, I'm not sure how much I can trust that, because it keeps shutting the bleeding thing down. Same with things like, I've got GSAM somewhere, but it'll keep closing that down. So it's got 1 day, 2 hours. So that's not too bad actually, but it's only got 54% of it being used. So again, where's the other 4% gone? And this thing's 1 day, well, almost 6 hours with 6 hour screen on time, which anyway you look at it, that's very good. So the battery, very good. The RAM management, rather annoying. Connectivity wise, no issues at all, which is quite impressive for a budget device. Normally, for example, I go to the gym, well, everything I use is Bluetooth. So when I'm on the bike, it's Bluetooth into my helmet. When I'm in the car, Bluetooth to the car. When I'm at the gym, Bluetooth to my earphones. And quite often, at some point, normally I think it's when my body is getting between the receiver and the phone, you get a little bit of a crack. Well, now and then you get a little bit of a crackle sometimes. At the gym, for example, even my Note 9, when it's in my pocket and I lay down onto on the bench on my front to do leg curls, hamstring curls, I get some crackling. Actually, the Note 9, I've started bringing it phone around and putting it. I mean, that's not good actually. A lot of people say, Bluetooth rubbish, and I'll always defend Bluetooth, but I will admit there's a couple of times there's some issues. But not with this thing. This thing's been really impressive. I don't think I've had a single skip. Really strong Bluetooth connection. So definitely very good in that respect. No other problems connectivity wise at all. So we're going to move on to the software. So as you can see, we're running Android version 8.1 with Poco, where is it? There we go. MIUI version for Poco 9.6. There is a version 10 out there, but you have to kind of hack it onto the phone in some ways, and I wasn't particularly that bothered. Good news is the security pack, well, I say good news, it's 1st of July, what are we now, we're the 17th of September at the time of recording. It's not bad, that's not bad, we're 2.5 months away in some ways, it's 2 months out of date, which it could be worse, I suppose, is what I'm saying. Any other specs that you want to see just there? Now, this is where we come to one of the first big issues for some people. For me, not so much, but it doesn't have certain DRM. I think level 1 of, I forget what it's called now, whatever it is, and you need level 3. So Netflix won't let you play in HD. That's the bottom line. Netflix and Amazon Prime, I think, because the DRM that they use, this phone, I mean, it's actually a hardware issue, even though I mentioned it here in software. So you can only watch Netflix at 540p. Now, a lot of people are going, what? I don't think it's that big an issue. I did a whole other video kind of comparing the two, and I think a lot of the comments were, it's not really an issue, but it's definitely something you want to be aware of, because some people have gone, no way, it's off the list. That's a deal breaker. For me, there's other reasons that you shouldn't buy the phone when we talk about the software. So, notifications. Look at that, clear, right? Nothing, no issues, no notifications. Oh, wait, the hell are all of those? It doesn't show, why is that about? It doesn't show notifications. Now, I don't know if this is a sort of Xiaomi trying to copy iOS type thing. I don't know, but because if you go through the app drawer, so we see that Google Fit's got a notification for me. The Play Store's got a notification for me. Regular reminders. Great app, people, download it, install it. It's got a notification for me. That is not a good way to be looking for notifications. It really isn't, and it really bugs me. Why have they done that? To me, that's pretty massive. I can't see notifications. I don't get it. Anyway, on the notch, you can hide the notch. Let's go back into settings. Let's go hide screen notch. So we're going to tap on that, and you see now, I quite like that. We still don't get notifications, but I quite like that. The only issue being you've got slightly rounded corners at the top, and you've got massively rounded corners down the bottom. That's a little bit weird. So while we're here though, full screen gestures. So one option is to have buttons at the bottom like so, but if you go to full screen gestures, not now, we don't need to learn them, just turn them on. So to go home, for example, swipe up from off screen. To get to app switcher, swipe up and hold, and you see it all kind of bounce in. Let's go back to home. Well, actually no, let's go back because I'll show you back. So back is a swiping from the left. Oh no, I can't do it while it's on an app switcher. Let's go to an app. See that? And I actually really like that. When I've had to use my Note 9 to check something, I found myself sliding in from the side of the screen expecting to go back, and it didn't. Oh, I mean, I think I found an app that can replicate it, but yeah, I actually really like the gestures. Really quite cool. What else? The settings generally, I'm not a fan of how Xiaomi do settings. So I mean, even, which one was it? Was I trying to find a screen timeout? Oopsie. It's not there. You go to display where you would normally find it. It's not there. You have to go, I think, there we go, to lock screen. Why Xiaomi? Why do you do this? Really bugs me. I wouldn't mind if the search worked properly, but it doesn't. You know, there was a few things I was looking for and just couldn't find them. You do get a bit of bloatware. So initially it comes with a lot of Microsoft apps. Almost all of them you can just uninstall, which is good news. Second space is an interesting option. So let's just find that in, hopefully, second space. Protect your privacy, create. So it basically enables you to have almost like a whole second install on your one device. I don't know if I've never really used profiles on Android. I don't think it's like profiles. I mean it literally, you know, your own photos, your own apps, your own app data, everything. So I set it up to sort of have my personal and my Android Andy. So if we go to second space, there we go. Now I've not got any passwords or security, mainly because I set a password and then I forgot it. But you can, for example, set up different fingerprints. So I can't remember if I think, oh, maybe I didn't reset it actually. No, that's silly. I should have done it for the basically video, when you lock the screen, I had one finger set up as space 1 and a second finger set up as space 2, and depending which one I unlocked with, it went to that particular space, which I thought was really clever. The problem was when I rebooted the device and you can't use a fingerprint the first time to log in, you have to put the password in. I couldn't remember what it was, so I wiped it and I didn't put the password back on. But yeah, I just thought it was a really clever idea. It's a whole different, I mean, everything is just set up on a different account. This is my Android Andy account rather than, so I can get to its whole, that's my Instagram, people. If you didn't know, I'm on Instagram. Oh, let me see who's the boss is. Oh, no, it's a Huawei. Okay, for a second I thought it was the Pocophone. But yeah, it is different, that camera layout. But yeah, just generally, I thought really good idea. When I try to switch back, it says, right, now you need to use the security. So there we go. And I can feel the phone vibrating, all my notifications coming in, even though it's not telling me I've got any notifications. So yeah, I really like the second space. I did find it seemed to freeze up a couple of times when I was using it, like the keyboard would just stop working. In fact, I did find that a few times the keyboard would just stop responding and I'd have to pull down the notification bar and back up, and then the keyboard would work again. It's almost like it lost focus. A little bit weird. A lot of the apps don't start full screen. Now, subway card, there we go. So, just a big empty blank space at the bottom. And you have to go through individually turning those on for the different apps you want to be full screen, which is quite a pain in the backside. So what's my conclusion? There's a lot of things I really like about the device. The build quality, the hardware, it's nice and slick and smooth using it. I love the gestures. The camera takes really good stills. But the bottom line is it is still a budget phone. It's just a very powerful budget phone. And what I think it is it lacks the polish. And that might sound a little bit weird, but much as you might not like Samsung's Experience launch or whatever it is, it's quite polished. A Pixel phone, probably the most polished phone or Android phone you can get. And the Xiaomi, the lack of polish lets it down. So I mean, there's other things. The video how it skips, and for me the overblown colours is a bit much. But it's the hardware is let down by the software, and that's what's so annoying, because the hardware is the bit that costs them the money. Surely the software is then what they do by choice to put on the phone. If they just put stock Android, I think this would be a complete winner. It'd be amazing. But just, you know, it's things like you can't see the notifications. If I've got 10 emails, I've got 10 different notifications on my lock screen, for example. It's just little things like the RAM management is just far too aggressive. I showed you the battery apps that I use, and they're useless. Even though I've told it, no, leave these alone, let them run. It's shutting them down. Why are you doing that? Give me that as an option, but don't make that the default that I can't turn off. Other things like, so Google Rewards, I use Google Rewards, it monitors where you go, and then it sends you questions and you get Play Store money. I almost missed one because I got a notification saying, oh, you almost ran out of time to answer this survey. What survey? You didn't tell me that. I went in and answered it, but it should have given me the notification the previous day. Why? And I can't help but think that's Xiaomi. I've never had that happen before. Xiaomi, they're just so aggressive with the RAM management. There was one of the first days I'd had a load of Hangout messages that I just didn't get. I finally sort of noticed the dot, I think, or something like that, and I went into it and all these notifications came through. Why aren't you letting them through? And for me, the problem is I just don't trust the phone, and that's a big issue. For me, that's a deal breaker. That for me means that I wouldn't use it as my daily. Although it seems like fantastic value because the hardware you're getting is amazing, but they've ruined it with the software, and it is so annoying. Why, Xiaomi? Why? So, I mean, if you're a regular Xiaomi user, maybe you're kind of used to that. Maybe you accept that, and maybe that's okay. Am I making too big a deal? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But for now, my name's Andy, and I'll catch you all again soon. Well done, and thank you for making it to the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, you might want to click the little fellow that should hopefully appear about here to subscribe. You may also want to check out some of my other videos, which are going to appear somewhere there. Also, come and have a look at my website, androidandy.uk. There is also a forum. Come and say hello on the forum. If you've got any questions about things, or request me to review things, or anything else, just come and have a chat on the forum.